Hey May, how are you?
Morning, Deepika. How are you doing?
Good, good. Let me just give us everybody 5 minutes and then we'll get started.
All right. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Let's just give everybody a few minutes. I'll give 5 more minutes. Sometimes I just sent the meeting invite, so I'll give everybody 5 minutes and then we'll get started. And everybody, if you're not talking, please keep yourself on mute so others don't have issue listening to the lecture. And if you have to talk, just unmute yourself and you can speak up. Has everybody finished the homework that I gave you guys? I know few haven't done it because I think Tripti was not able to get to it. What about everybody else? Deepti, Robert, Girija. Girija finished it. Yusuf, how about you all?
So I just got back from my trip. I
Okay.
think I mentioned it to you that my daughter just matriculated at Northwestern, so I just got back. As I speak to you now, I'm literally heading back home right from the airport. So
Okay.
I will take my time over the weekend to look through everything that we have, and I will catch up to see you by next week.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Oh, that's good. That's fine. Come, no worries. Um, yeah, 2 more minutes and then we'll get started, guys.
So sorry, while we're on that, do we have a place where we can access the content? Is it your normal portal or something? I think I asked that question earlier. Or I mean, the recording and the slides and everything. Is it? Is there? I must have missed it. I'm sure in the course of my 1 week of being a AirTos, right? Is there anywhere where all of the assets are in one place where I can just go in and access them, or is
Yes,
it that I have to
so
go on
so the
YouTube?
videos are on YouTube. So all the three videos, the assignment video and the two lectures we had, they are on YouTube. And there was one assignment question paper I gave that is on WhatsApp.
Okay.
But yeah, do you have the link to the recordings?
I would have to check. I have to check the WhatsApp, right? If
Yeah,
yeah,
it is on WhatsApp. If you couldn't find it, let me know. I'll send you again.
okay, that's fine. Including the assignments, I'll check the WhatsApp and pick them up from there. Then, all right.
Come back again. Come back again.
I said I'll go ahead and look at the WhatsApp and see how I can look at the links and bookmark the links.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah.
If you don't, then let me know. 1 second. I need to call somebody because that person is not, I don't see it. Is Vijay on the call?
Yes, I am here, Deepika.
Okay, good. I was about to call you to make sure you joined. Did you look
Yeah,
at the last two recordings?
yes, I did.
Okay. And did you do the homework?
Yes, I just sent it on the chat, the
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay, awesome. So let's get started, guys. This meeting is being recorded, so if you don't understand anything, don't worry about it. You can always ask me or go through the recording again. So today we are going to talk about relationships. We discussed a little bit in the previous tutorial, and then we will talk about roll-up summary, validations rule, and formula fields. These are the three topics we will cover today. So let's
Yeah,
get
Deepika,
yes.
1 second before, like I saw in the video, if we miss the tab to activate it while creating the object, where to go and do it,
Oh,
right?
okay. Very easy. So
Yeah, no,
basically,
I got that one.
hmm,
But there is another option like adding the task and notes attachments. There are two options when you create an object, the last check boxes.
yeah, yeah.
So if we forgot the notes and attachments, how to create it? Because I didn't do the tab and the attachments. Later on, I found out how to do it. So it will be helpful for others also if
Oh,
they.
okay. That is something I have to check. 1 second.
So I found out we have to go to the page layout and add it.
Oh, you did already found it. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. So you let me see. Okay, so you went through the page layouts and then you went to the layout. That was a good question.
And we have to go to the related list.
Okay. And then look
And then
at
all the notes and attachments will be there
okay.
since we already added.
This
Won't
was you.
show.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you, Vijay. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Um, so next one, do you guys remember till which slide I finished it last time? Anybody recall it? Which number of the slide was it?
It was on the relationship.
Do you have the slide number 54, 55? Um, I think I finished this one. Then there we talked about all four relationship, many to many. We talked about um, the relationship that we have created. Is everybody created the particular relationship fields as well?
Yes.
Okay, okay, so that one is done. So the next one we will talk about, I'll just revise this and then we will take it from here. Okay? So
Deepika, while creating the supplier related list in the child, you mentioned like you can create it or you can add it later on, right?
the
Look up relationship for the supplier.
yeah,
So in that one, like if we already created the field,
you delete it and recreate it.
okay.
So you're saying you basically, okay, explain to me what you did.
Uh, I know like we cannot create it afterwards after creating the field because lookup relationship you have to delete it and create a new field with the lookup relationship,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So what happens like if I already have the data's records and later on we are creating a new object and we have to give a relationship. So how we will do it?
So you will have, so let's say you will have to, so you're saying you created a lookup field or
So
you
we
have,
already have a shoe inventory
yeah,
object,
yeah.
and in that we have created a field of supplier, but we don't have a supplier object.
You can't create a field of supplier without a, so that is just a text field.
Yes,
Oh, so you're saying you have a text field, you want to change it to a lookup field, correct?
yes.
So the first thing is you need to delete the text field. Okay.
So what happens
Before
to
you
the records?
before you delete it, you save that information
Mm-hmm,
of those text field in an Excel sheet or whatever it is. So
mm-hmm,
let's say and then you basically going to recreate the new field lookup
mm-hmm.
and then use the tools like data import wizard and data loader to update the data in that lookup field.
Okay.
With the text, you have to take the backup of the text field and then move those contents from the text field over to a lookup field.
So does it update? My question is, yeah, we can do that. My
Hmm?
question is, when you update it on the lookup field, whether the supplier object will get updated?
When you're picking up the lookup, the ID of why would supplier get updated? Supplier is just, you're making a lookup to supplier.
So we have to update in the supplier.
No, you're updating it in the shoe inventory to update the lookup. If you remember, supplier is a lookup relationship on the shoe inventory object,
Yes. Yes.
right?
So shoe inventory is the child and supplier is the
Parent.
parent.
Correct. So you created a field on the child object, which is the shoe inventory.
Mm-hmm,
Now you're creating a lookup relationship, which is going to point to the supplier. Behind
mm-hmm.
the scene, the ID of that supplier record will be stored in the shoe inventory lookup field.
So my question is, I already have the records in the supplier inventory, but I don't have the supplier object. So when I am updating with the master, like a data loader, something, updating the supplier.
You have to
So
first create the supplier also, then create the supplier, update the records in the supplier.
okay.
Then you will get the relationship field. Then you will have the IDs of the supplier. Let me show you. So let's discuss. That's a good question. And this is something a lot of times you will have to do it in the real world as well. So let's say you have supplier, right? You have not created supplier yet. You only have a text field on the shoe inventory object where you have, let me use Notepad actually. This is basically the requirement. You have a supplier, object doesn't exist yet, right? And then you have a shoe inventory object. And then in that shoe inventory object, you have a supplier, which is a text field. And then that text field has, let's say, Dick's Sporting Good. Then you can say Walmart is another supplier. Then you have Target is another supplier, things like that. Okay. This is a text field. So first you need to do is you will need to, first step would be to create a backup of this text field. Okay. So you will have Dick's Sporting Goods, Walmart, Target, etc. Step number 2 would be to create a lookup field pointing to the supplier object. Okay. But before you do that, you will also need to create the supplier object. And then next step would be load the supplier data. Then you will create the lookup field. Then the next step would be using the tools like data loader or the import wizard. You will populate the IDs of the supplier in your lookup field that you created. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is what you have to do. You don't have supplier, you just have a simple text field called supplier on the shoe inventory. So you have to make it more, I would say better would be first to create the backup of the text field. So you're going to store all your suppliers information, whichever suppliers it is. Then you will create the supplier object. You will load the supplier data. Then you will create a lookup field on the shoe inventory to point to the supplier object. And then using the tools, you will basically populate the IDs of the supplier in your lookup field. And once we get into the data import wizard and data loader, which will be tomorrow, you guys will have a better understanding of it.
So in the real world, usually the shoe inventory, they will have the supplier details. So we are removing and creating a new object and giving a lookup relationship in the shoe inventory.
Yes. So if let's say supplier was a text field, you were storing supplier in a text field, but you wanted to create a much more, now the supplier is becoming too big and you wanted to have its own object. Yes, in the real world, these are the steps you're going to take.
Okay.
But
And
if
we
you
have to add
just had a
those.
simple text field and you said, okay, supplier is just a plain boring text, and I don't need to have any information more about supplier, you can leave it as a text field. But ideally, if supplier itself can have its own object or own table, which will have its own information, then you will create a separate object.
Okay. So during this process in real world, it will be not just the supplier. It would be like supplier, contact, email, phone number, and country. So the entire field will be goes into a new object as a supplier.
Exactly. Anything related to the supplier, supplier's email, supplier point of contact, anything related to that, all that information will go on the supplier object.
Okay.
Okay. You don't want to, if there's only one field you're capturing on supplier, which is the supplier name, then you don't have to create a separate object for that. But if you want to capture more information about supplier, you will create a separate object.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Yep.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. So let's get started. We will revise the lookup relationship. So these are the two major relationships we have. One is a lookup, then the other one is a master detail relationship. Lookup relationship is a loosely coupled relationship, means both the child and the parent object can exist on its own, and they will have their own shading settings. The control of the child will be completely independent of the parent. Whereas in the case of master detail relationship, it is a very tightly coupled relationship. The child records cannot exist without the parent. So if you go ahead and delete the parent record, all the associated child records will get deleted. In our example of the cloud kicks, we had shoe order and the order line items, right? Order line items and shoe order, they're tightly coupled, right? So what happens is if a order gets deleted, all the line items that are associated with that order will also get deleted and should get deleted because those line items are closely tied to that particular order. The next important thing is there is a field called roll-up summary field. It does not exist when you are creating a lookup relationship, whereas in the case of master detail relationship, you will have the option of creating roll-up summary fields. And these roll-up summary fields you can create only on the parent object. Now, what a roll-up summary is, we'll take a look at in a minute. Now, in the case of lookup relationship, the parent record is not required while creating a child record. The parent record can be optional, whereas in the case of master detail, the parent record is always required. Now, what do I mean by that is, for example, if you go to a particular order line item, order record, let's say we go to an order record and we create a new order. And let's say account name, it is associated with Burlington Textile. Contact number, contract number, I don't have it, so we'll create a new contract. Contract start date, search contacts, Burlington Textile, 12 months. Hit save. So we created a new contract number. Status is draft. Hit save. Order start date, we will start from 15th. Hit save. Oh, you know what? This is not the order I am looking for. Before we do anything, let's do one thing. Let's create a CloudKicks application, and all the tabs that are related to the CloudKicks application, we will add it over under the CloudKicks. So in order to do that, we will go to the setup, and here we will go to App Manager. So we'll go to the quick find, we will go to App Manager, and here we will create a new Lightning app. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create a new Lightning app. Name of the app, we will call it as CloudKicks because that is the name of our company. Developer name will automatically be populated. This is a description if you want to put it. If you want to have a logo for that, you can upload it over here. And then this is how the CloudKicks will look like, and then hit next. Now, navigation and form factor. How do you want the navigation to be? We will go with the standard navigation. Console navigation is most when you are dealing with customer service. You can have multiple records open. So look and feel of console is slightly different than how the standard navigation is. Standard navigation is what we have currently. You open a record, you see that record. Whereas in the console, you can open multiple records side by side, switch between those records, more for the customer service team. Supported form factors, we will use both desktop and phone. What kind of setup experience do you want? I want setup, service setup, or data cloud setup. Since data cloud is enabled, you have this option. Service setup, you can choose, it will be only for service related. We want full setup. So we're going to go ahead and click on this radio button. App personalization settings. Now, the first option is disable end user personalization of navigation items in this app. So if you want to not allow the end user, the customer, to move the tabs around or able to play with it, remove certain things. If you don't want that, you're going to enable this checkbox. Disable temporary tabs for items outside of the app. Do you want to disable the creation of temporary tabs? You will check this checkbox. Means when you open a new tab, it will show up under the same app temporarily. You want to disable that, you can select this option. Use omni-channel sidebar. So in the left side, usually that omni-channel pop-up will be there. If you wanted to use that, you will select this. Click next here. Add any utility items. Like, do you want to add, these are the utility items that are available. You want chatter feed, you want chatter publisher. So if you want any of these utility items, you can add them. If you have created any custom utility items, you can add those as well. We don't want to add any utility items, so I'm going to go ahead and click on next here. Now, here are some of the tabs. So the first tab I would like is the accounts tab. We are also using opportunities. So we're going to go ahead and move the opportunities. We are using cases. So we'll use cases. Then you have is the shoe inventory. So we'll go ahead and choose shoe inventory. Shoe order is another one. What else? only those objects which have a tab associated with them, those are the ones that will show up under here. Now, any other object that we have created, supplier. So we'll go ahead and supplier is another one. So we will move the supplier on the top because supplier is tied to a shoe inventory. And then you have shoe order. Now, if you see here, the order line items won't exist because order line items, we never created a particular, what do you call a tab for those. Okay, so that's why the order line item doesn't exist. So we have shoe order, shoe inventory, suppliers, all of that. And
Delete
this
the
is
lead and campaign.
okay. I can add lead. I'm not sure if we were using it, but we will move the lead on the very beginning. Campaign, I don't think we will use it because campaign is just to capture the leads. If we have to, we can come back to the Lightning app and we can add those additional tabs. So for the timing, I'm just keeping these ones. Okay. Hit next. Now, who do you want this application to have access to? Which profile? So we will select everything. You can select a particular profile. System administrator should have access to application, but let's say we want to give access to everything. So you select all of those, pretty much everything, all the profiles, move it to the right-hand side and save and finish. So now what we have done is we have created our own custom application called Cloud Kicks. So if I go over to the application launcher, the app launcher, and I look for Cloud Kicks, this is my app that has been created. And under this app, you will see all the tabs that are there: leads, accounts, opportunities, cases, suppliers, shoe inventory, shoe orders, etc. Okay. Now, under the shoe order, let's say we go to a shoe order and we click on new shoe order, we will provide that, okay, this shoe order is tied to this account. We have selected the order date defaulted as today's date, so that's why it is automatically populated. Shipping method, let's say, is ground. Shipping country is USA. Status is draft. Total amount, we will see in a minute, and hit save. Okay. So now if you see here, this is your order that you have created. Now under the order, you automatically see a related list called order items. What all items are tied under this particular order, then you are going to add those order items here. Okay. And in the case of master detail relationship, you will see that this red asterisk sign is available that basically tells you you cannot create an order item without the parent record. But if it was a lookup relationship, in that case, you don't have to provide the parent record. So this is a parent record. S001 is nothing but the order we just created, and automatically it got populated. Even if you don't do that, even if you don't populate it, and if you scroll out, you cannot create this record without providing the value of shoe order. The parent field is very, very important in the case of master detail relationship, whereas in the case of lookup relationship, it is not a required field. Okay. Lookup fields are not required on the page layout of the detail record. So in the page layout also, the lookup field is not required, whereas master detail is always required. Means you cannot get rid of this field from the layout of this page. Okay. Standard object record can be on the detail side of a custom object in a lookup relationship. Standard object cannot be a child record. So this is a very important point here. The standard objects are like account object, opportunity object, cases. These are standard objects that are given to you by Salesforce. You can create you can use standard object on the detail side, right? The standard object can be a child object in the case of lookup relationship, but in the case of a master detail relationship, standard object cannot be a child record. Now, does anybody wants to take a dig at why that is not allowed? In the case of master detail relationship, why a standard object can only be a parent object, not a child object? Do you know why?
Is it because the standard object doesn't change? Cannot be deleted?
Exactly. So standard object records, Salesforce doesn't want you to delete them, right? And that is why they cannot be on the detail side in the case of master detail relationship, because in the case of master detail relationship, the security is controlled by the parent, whereas Salesforce doesn't allow that. So that's why Salesforce says master detail. So if you go to an account object, right? Sorry, if you go to is account object, and if you click on new, sorry, not new here, if you go to the account is a standard object, right? So if you go to the edit object in this case, and if you go under the fields and relationships, and if I try to create a new field, you will see their master detail relationship option doesn't even exist in the case of account object, because as you know, a relationship field always have to go onto a child object. And and that is the reason, if you are making account as the child object, which is not possible, that's why the master detail relationship option doesn't even exist for any of the standard object. You only see lookup relationship. Okay, everybody crystal clear on this particular point, why the standard object cannot be a child object? I need a thumbs up from everybody. And if somebody doesn't know, hasn't understood it, let me know. Okay, Tripti, what is the question you're not clear, Tripti?
Deepika, as you mentioned, like why we cannot create
So,
1 minute. The question you asked, like why we cannot create on the standard object, the field.
Okay, so the reason why we cannot create it is because in the case of master detail relationship, if you delete a parent record, if you delete a parent record, the child records will also get deleted. That is the meaning of a master detail relationship. So if Salesforce allows you to create a master detail relationship where the child object becomes a standard object like account or opportunity, then what will happen is, first option is the sharing, the control of that record will be controlled by a custom object, which Salesforce doesn't allow it. Second option is, if you delete the parent record, the custom record, the child records will be deleted, which also Salesforce doesn't allow that. That is why they are saying that in the case of master detail relationship between a custom object and a standard object cannot be a child object. It will always act as a parent object. You cannot try to add it as a parent, as a child record in the case of master detail relationship. Does that make sense?
Thanks, Deepika.
Okay. So here, the next question is, the next point to remember is standard object record can be on the detail side of a custom object in a lookup relationship. So if you're creating a relationship between a standard object and a custom object, standard object can be on the detail side meaning is the child side, okay? Can be on the child side only if you are trying to create a lookup relationship between the two. But if you are trying to create a master detail relationship between the two objects, then standard object cannot be a child object. It will always should be a parent object. And that is why you have seen that the master detail relationship option doesn't even appear in the case of standard objects like account. Next important thing is, by default, the record ownership of child records is not controlled by the parent. So what does that mean is, if the child records can have its own owners, whereas the parent can also have its own owner. So ownership can be different. Whereas in the case of this master detail relationship, parent controls the record ownership of child records. The owner field is not available on the detailed record in master detail relationship queues. Sharing rules, manual sharing is not possible for the detailed records as it requires the owner field. So everything related to the child record is controlled by the parent. So if I go over here and let's say we try to create a shoe, this is your shoe order, and then here you have what do you call, created by the owner field is there, right? If I go here and I try to add an order item, let's say we are ordering 4 quantity, price is about $100. This is a lookup relationship. SKU has it's a lookup to SKU. That's why it's not a required field. Hit save. And if you see here, order, whoever is the owner of the parent record, that's the same, automatically you will get it. Okay, it will not be different than what you had it in the case of the master detail. In the case of master, owner field will exist on both child as well as the parent, whereas in the case of master detail relationship, owner field doesn't exist on the child record. Everything is controlled by the parent record. You can have a child record without a parent in the case of lookup relationship, whereas in the case of master detail relationship, a child record cannot exist without the parent. You have already seen that when we are creating a order item record, you have to provide the shoe order value. You cannot create an order item record without providing the shoe order, which is the parent object. You can have maximum of 40 lookups on an object. So on a particular object, you can create 40 lookup relationship, whereas in the case of master detail relationship, you can only have max of 2 master detail relationship. Okay, so on a particular object, you can only have 2 master detail relationships available. No cascade delete. What is the meaning of the word cascade? Means if you delete the parent, child record will get deleted. That is a cascading happening over there. In the case of lookup, it doesn't happen. In the case of master detail, when you delete the parent, child records will get deleted, also happens. Any questions so far, guys? Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Deepika, can I take a different viewpoint here on
Sure.
on
Go ahead.
on the parent and child relationship, right? I think so. Just wanted to add it in the sense that the reason why you don't want the standard objects as child objects is because um, they can be deleted, right? And Salesforce doesn't allow it. So I just wanted to extend the thought process there, as in like, why would not Salesforce allow it? I just wanted to see if anybody would like to answer that. Just to like, see how well they have understood, because I think this is a very strong foundation.
Do you guys want to take a dig at it? Like, why do you think? I want to know the answer.
I think you already know, but I'm just like it's just a trick question, right? I'm just like twist and ask the same thing. So if
Yeah, standard object are pre-built Salesforce future. So Salesforce doesn't want to delete those futures.
And
Does
also the existing ones.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the like that's the data model, right, on which everything relies.
Yeah.
So if you delete, if it's a child object, you delete it, the whole data model is broken, then nothing will work on the standard data model which Salesforce ships. right? The basic fundamental data model of, account, contact, opportunity is like the backbone of your Sales Cloud. And if any of those objects or relations are disturbed, I think the entire data model is broken. So
But here I wanted to pinpoint, we're talking about a record, not deleting the object. Basically, let's say you created ABC, let's say you created an order 101, and under that order, you bought 3 different products, shoe numbers of shoe size 7, shoe size 9, and shoe size 8.5, all for women. So if you delete the order itself, all those 3 items that are in the order will get deleted. Nothing at the structure will happen, is those 3 records won't exist. So the reason Salesforce doesn't allow those the standard object to be on the detail side is because they don't want to touch their existing data. And because that data has dependency on other data as well within the Salesforce, that account record is tied to an opportunity, it's tied to a case, it's tied to other standard objects. They don't want you to delete any of that because it will break the entire data connection that it has with other objects.
okay, so the data integrity is broken, in other words.
Exactly. The
Yeah,
data integrity is broken. We are not deleting the end user will never have the permission to delete the object.
delete the standard objects. Yes,
Yeah, or even delete the custom. They will have profile. They won't have a profile of a Salesforce admin. They'll have a user profile. User won't be able to touch anything on the data model. It's the records that we are trying to talk about here. It says here, standard object record cannot be a child because you cannot delete a record of a standard object, because if you do that, all in the case of master detail relationship, everything related to that will get deleted. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay. Everybody is okay, crystal clear on this topic? Have the difference between a record and an object. Object is the structure which we define, the fields, everything. Record is basically the rows of the table.
Also, another question is like if you look at this sharing rules and manual sharing for the
Yeah.
detailed records is not possible. So would there be any scenario at any point in time where you're required to share? That's not even hypothetically possible, right? So you just share the parent record and like
Automatically
automatically
child
all of
records
that.
will be
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
sharing is on the parent, automatically that sharing would be on the child records.
Understand. But would there be any scenario just to like share the detail that doesn't even, would that exist, or will there be any use case like that? I'm just curious.
No, if you have to have a use case where you want to have 2 separate, you cannot go with a master detail. You have to choose a lookup relationship.
So I think it goes back to like on the architecture or like the data model itself, right? Yeah, okay.
Usually, see, majority of the time, 90% of the time in real world, you go with the lookup relationship because of how loosely coupled it is. And then because master detail comes up with its own locking stuff and all that. So if you want to keep things simple, you go with a lookup relationship. But if you're worried about the integrity of the data, you know that, okay, this thing cannot exist without this, those are the only scenarios you will choose a master detail relationship. Okay?
Got it.
Let's move on. The next,
One more quick
yes, go
thing
ahead,
I was
Deepti.
thinking about when you were talking about the standard account and like the object and the records is that in a real life scenario, your customer service kind of operations, right? Reverse logistics, all that depends on how you're tracking your records. So if you do that, then you're losing all of that data.
Awesome. That's a very good point. Exactly. You're losing all of that data if you allow that thing to happen.
Yep.
So so far, if everybody has done the assignment, this is what we have built so far. Account object is tied to a shoe order. Now, what kind of relationship it has? It is a master detail relationship because one particular account can have many orders, like Burlington Textile or Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart can place multiple orders, right? One time they placed an order of 100 items of US size 9 for women, then they placed it for US 7 size. So you can have multiple orders under a particular customer. So the relationship they have is a master detail. And the reason they chose a master detail, because you don't want to create an order without a particular customer, because every order is tied to a customer. You cannot have an order without the customer information. Otherwise, it's not a proper data. You always have an order tied to a customer. Customer is nothing but the account in this case. Now, shoe order and order items. It is also a one-to-many relationship, and one order can have multiple items under it. So there is a master detail relationship again. And if items are deleted with the order, items inherit the order shading. So whatever the shading you have on the order object, the same will be applied to the order items. Order items to shoe inventory. Now, each item points to a SKU, right? So that is a lookup relationship we are creating. Again, a one-to-many relationship, one order item, because will be tied to a particular SKU. Okay. Shoe inventory to supplier, each SKU have a supplier. So it's a lookup relationship again. Supplier is optional in this case. This is also good for reporting purposes. Then you have account, opportunity, case, contact. These are the standard one-to-many relationship that already exist within the Salesforce. So these are the main objects. These are the main relationship that is there between those objects. Now, the next important topic is the roll-up summary field. Now, what is a roll-up summary field? Roll-up summary field basically is a field that is only available when you are creating a master detail relationship. This option doesn't even is enabled in the case of lookup relationship, and you can only create a roll-up summary field on a parent record. A roll-up summary is a field on a parent record that automatically calculates values from its child record. So if you want to calculate how many child records are tied to this particular parent, let's say you want to know how many order items are available in that particular order, you can create a roll-up summary for that. If you want to know the total value for that order based on all the order items, then that is a roll-up summary. You're basically grouping what is available under the child records. So think of it like an Excel. You have a list of order items in rows. At the bottom, you have a cell that shows sum of total price, right? So sum of total price is nothing but all the order items. Let's say you bought 4 items of price at $100 for size 9. 3 items, you bought 2 quantities of those at a size of 6.5. So the total price would be basically the complete order cost. That is a lookup field. And that lookup field only makes sense. Sorry, that is a roll-up summary field. And that roll-up summary field only makes sense for a parent record, right? You need to summarize the data from your child records inside of the parent. And that's why the roll-up summary is only available in the case of master detail relationship, and it's only available on the parent object. So instead of manually calculating a roll-up summary field, does it for you. That is the purpose of roll-up summary. And what are the options available? You can count how many child records exist. You can do a sum total from the child particular field of the child record. You can calculate the minimum value, the smallest value. You can calculate the maximum. So these are the 4 things you can do in the case of roll-up summary. So if you want to calculate how many order items are in a particular order, you will go for creating a roll-up summary. If you want to calculate the total amount of that order, including all the order line items, including the quantity and the price for each, that is another example for a roll-up summary. Okay. If you want to calculate the earliest order date among the child records, that is, you will use something like roll-up summary. If you want to calculate the latest order date among the child records, you will use a option of maximum. Okay. Now let's create a roll-up summary field, and then we will come back to this slide. So on the shoe orders, as I mentioned to you, the roll-up is always created on the parent object. Okay, roll-up is always created on the parent. Let's say on the shoe order, since there is a master detail relationship exists, that's why this roll-up will be enabled. And what is we are calculating? We are calculating sum of line total from the related order items. No, I'm not sure if everybody has created the line total. If not, we will create it. And it's a formula field. So we haven't talked about formula field in yet. So we will skip this first one. We will calculate this number of items. Basically, it is going to calculate how many order items are available in that particular order. And so we will go over to the shoe order object. So here I'll go to the setup. And I will go to the object manager. And I will go to the shoe order here. And you will see, first thing you will see here, if I go to the fields and relationship, and if I click on new, you will see the roll-up summary is enabled. Okay. But if I go to another object like supplier, let's say we go to supplier. In the case of supplier, if we click on new, the roll-up summary is graded out because this is not a parent object. It is not involved in any master data relationship. That's why you cannot create a roll-up summary on this particular object. So we'll go back to the shoe order. And over here, we will create a new field. And what is the type of the field? It's a roll-up summary. A read-only field. So this is a read-only field, means you cannot change the value of that field. You automatically, this value is being calculated behind the scene. So it's a read-only field that displays either the sum, minimum, or maximum value of a field in a related list or the record count of all records listed in a related list. When you talk about related list, means it is talking about the child records, right? Hit next here. And here the field label, I'm going to call it as number of items. Okay, so here we'll call it as number of items. Hit next. Now, which object are you trying to summarize? So we are trying to summarize the order item. So all those objects which this object has a master data relationship to, those will appear under here. And only one object right now, it has the master data relationship. That's why you're only seeing order items. Now, what are we trying to do? We're trying to count them. If you choose sum, then it will show you the fields that you can sum on. Minimum, you can select a field. Maximum, you can select. But count means all we're talking about is how many records does this child, how many child records is tied to this parent record. Now you can put a filter criteria as well. All records should be included in the calculation, means all the child records should be part of this, or only a specific records with the criteria. Let's say you're only interested in order value with the amount greater than so and so. So if you want to add a particular filter, you can add a filter also. Here we want to know how many order items are there in a particular order. We don't want to exclude anything. We will select the first option here, click on next, and then we will make it visible to all, next, and then save. Okay, so now if I go over to the shoe order, right now the field doesn't exist. And here, if I go to shoe order, and we already have created one particular, what do you call, an order item here. If I go to shoe order, the problem is the fields doesn't reflect right away. Okay. You see here, number of items has been set to 1. This is the roll-up summary we created, and it's a read-only field. The pencil icon doesn't exist next to it. If I go ahead and create a new order, and I'll say this is quantity 3, price is $50 for the same order, we will go ahead and hit enter. So now this particular order has automatically items are 2 in it. So 2 items are available in this particular shoe order. Everybody crystal clear on the roll-up summary. What does the roll-up summary does? Awesome. Okay. Everybody crystal clear? Tripti, Deepti, Robert, Girija. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. So that is the example of a roll-up summary. Now, remind me when we go to formula fields, we will talk about this total amount as well. We will create that field. Now, similarly, number of orders. So same thing if you want to do on the parent object, right? So another one is this one, which is number of orders that particular company has placed. So let's say Dick's Sporting Good has placed 5 orders so far. We want to calculate that number. So same like we did it on shoe order, we can do the same thing on the account object as well. Count of related shoe order records, because there is a relationship between account and shoe order. And the relationship is a master data relationship because account represents a customer, right? So here we go over to the account objects. So we'll go to the setup again. And we will go to the object manager. We will go to the account, fields and relationship, and we will create a new field here, which is again a roll-up summary field. Click on next. We will call this field as number of orders. So number. Over there, we were calculating how many order items were there in a particular order. Here, we are calculating how many order a particular customer has placed. So with CloudKicks, okay, with CloudKicks, how many order Walmart has placed so far or Target has placed so far with CloudKicks company. So here we are checking number of orders per customer, not total, per customer, right? Hit the next here. I think I should have gone number of orders, and this should be number of orders. S is very important. Hit next. Okay. Here it is asking which object you want to summarize. So all this account has relationship with entitlement, opportunities, associated location, but we only are interested in the shoe order. And what are we interested in? The count. That's all. Okay. All records should be included. Hit next. Visible to all, next, and save. So now if I go to a particular customer, so here we go to a particular Burlington Textile of America, and here you will see that it has one shoe order. Burlington has placed one order so far. And what is that order? You will see it under here, number of orders. Okay, wait a minute. It hasn't calculated it. Let's create, maybe it hasn't refreshed it. Let's create another shoe order. And this is shipping method is 2 days. Shipping country is Canada. Status is draft. Total amount is safe. Now, in this case, the second option, right? Selecting the specific records. If you want to only include the orders which are in the fulfilled status, you can make that selection. Here we want everything to be included. That's why we haven't made that selection. So now the total number of orders are 2. Hopefully it should show up under here, and you can see here it reflected the value 2 because we have so many so far. Burlington has placed 2 orders with CloudKicks. Okay. Now this is the number of orders. The next one is, let's say I want to calculate, this is very important value from reporting purposes. You want to know which is your highly paid customer. Is it Dick's? Is it Walmart, right? So total lifetime order value. So if you wanted to calculate something like this, what you can do is sum of total amount from related shoe order. Before we do that, we need to first calculate this total amount, which we have not done yet. So we will come to this in a minute, but this will tell you that how much that customer has spent over the last couple of years. Walmart, let's say total order amount that they have done is 50 grand. Some of the with Cloud Kicks, Target has only done 20 grand. So if you want to calculate that, all you have to do is you will select the option sum and which field you want to sum total on. You will select that field and automatically that will be a roll up. Okay. Any questions so far on what we have learned about roll up summary? Everybody crystal clear? You just don't have to understand from how to do something. You should also understand why we are doing it. What is from the business perspective, why we are doing something? You have to think like that. Everybody crystal clear on roll up summary? Awesome. Awesome. Okay, guys. Similarly, we will go on the supplier. Supplier is the parent and number of SKUs that particular supplier is providing. Okay, so here, very simple. We will go over to the shoe inventory. Where does it supposed to go? Suppliers. So we'll go to the suppliers. One way is to go through setup and go to object manager. Another way is you go over to the tab and you click on edit object directly and it will take you to that particular object manager for that record. Okay, field and relationship, we will click on new. And here we are saying number of SKUs. It's okay. So now you see here, the roll-up summary is not available. Why? Anybody wants to tell me why this option is not available for supplier?
Because it's a child one.
No, supplier is not the child. Supplier is the parent.
Because it's not in a master detail relationship.
Exactly, exactly. Because it is not, it doesn't have a master data relationship with any objects. It is involved in a lookup relationship. One of the option could be child record. It was a child record. That's why the roll-up was not available. But supplier is not a child of anybody. Supplier has a relationship with shoe order. No, yes, shoe inventory, right? It has a lookup relationship with shoe inventory, and it has a lookup relationship, not a master detail relationship. So I'll show you. If you go to Schema Builder, there is a place here called Schema Builder. It will give you the relationship is there, everything. It'll give you a full view of your objects. So if I go and look for supplier, this is my supplier. And if I look for shoe inventory and shoe order, you can see here, there is no relationship with the shoe order. So we'll unselect that. But if you see here, there is a relationship. Supplier has a relationship with shoe inventory, but if you see here, hover your mouse, it says lookup relationship, not a master detail relationship. Okay. And since it is not involved in a master detail relationship, this particular object doesn't have the roll-up summary enabled. But if it was a master detail, this would have been enabled. Okay, so we cannot do this part because there is no master detail relationship. Any questions, guys? Everybody good?
So in case of something like this, you would create a field, like a formula
Exact
field.
formula. So you will have to, formula field will not work in this case. You will have to create a field, but you will set the value through a flow. You will, if it's a lookup relationship and you want something like this, then behind the scene, you will have a flow created, which will update the value.
Okay. Yeah. So something you'll have to
You have to you have to put another thing in place rather because you cannot create a master data relationship. That's why.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, guys. So roll-up summary fields are only available on master detail relationships, not on lookup. So as I mentioned earlier, it is only available in the case of master detail, not on lookup. That's why in Cloud Kicks, we made shoe order item as a master detail relationship. and it lets up roll up totals from items to the order. So if you want to roll up anything from the child record over to the parent, that's when you're going to use roll up summary. Okay. And this was an important point. Roll up summary fields in Salesforce summarize the data from a set of related detailed records and automatically display the output on the master record. So roll-up summary is always available on the parent record, and it will basically summarize the child records that the master is tied to. These can be used to display the sum, maximum, minimum value of a field in a related list, but also count the total number of records listed in the related list. Whenever we are talking about related list, that means we are talking about the child records. Okay. So you can do is you can't calculate average. So remember that 4 functions are available: count, sum, maximum, and minimum. If somebody says, can roll up summary do an average? No, you cannot do that. They're only available to master objects in a master detail relationship. After creating a roll-up summary field on the object, the master detail relationship cannot be converted into a lookup relationship. Once you have created a master detail relationship, once you have created a roll-up summary field on the master object, you cannot change that relation object back to a lookup relationship. Always remember that. Until or unless you have not created it, you can still revert back. But once you have created it, you cannot revert back. Okay? Now, so we have done all of this. Let's talk about validation rules. Before I jump to validation rules, we will come back and you will probably create certain more roll-up summary fields. But any questions on roll-up summary so far? Need a thumbs up, guys.
So one thing is when you want a roll-up summary, you would actually have a master detail relationship and you plan for something like that, right?
Yeah, you will when you create a master detail relationship, roll-up summary gets enabled.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, validation rules. This is very important topic, and you will be creating a lot of validation rules in your real world assignments. Okay. Purpose of validation rules. Validation rule basically makes sure the data that is entered by the users is proper. They are not adding wrong data, unformatted data. Certain fields are make you required in certain scenarios. So anytime you want to make sure that user enters the correct data, that's when you're going to use validation rules. It is validating that whatever the user has entered is correct or not. Okay. Validation rules verify the data entered by users in records meets the standard you specify before they can save it. So validation rules comes into picture the moment you try to save the record. Moment you try to save the record, the validation rules will kick in. Okay. And if there is a validation rule that kicks off, you will not be able to save that record until you fix the data. Okay. A validation rule can contain a formula or an expression that evaluates the data in one or more fields and return either a true or a false value. When the validation rule return a true value, this confirms that the data entered by the user contains an invalid value. So you're basically writing the code for the error. What is considered as bad data? That's what you define in validation rule. Okay, this is what is bad entry. And if that becomes true, that's when you're going to get an error message by Salesforce and you will not be able to save that record. So it is not a warning, it is an error. In the case of warning, you will be able to still proceed with saving the record, but this is not a warning message. This is an error message. Means you cannot save the record until you fix your data. Validation rules can also include error message to display to users when they enter invalid values based on a specific criteria. Let's say if you have made a particular field required on your object, then what happens is you cannot proceed with saving the record until you provide the value for that field. But let's say the field is not required in all the scenarios. You only may want to make that field required a particular condition. Let's say a contact said you can reach to me via email. That is the preferred channel by a customer. But customer has not provided the email address. So email address becomes required only if the user has chosen preferred way of communication is email. So when you have a requirement like this, when you want to make a certain field required in certain scenarios, that's when you're going to use validation rules. Using these rules effectively contribute to quality data. So you always want to make sure the data that's user is entered is quality data, because data is the key. You make reports on that. You make judgments on that. You make decisions on your data. So the data has to be in a proper, has to be a good data, not bad data. For example, you can ensure that all the phone numbers field contain a specified format, or that discounts applied to certain products never exceed a defined percentage. So if you want to make sure the date, like nobody's giving 100% discount, you can monitor that with the help of validation rules. You want to monitor that the phone number is in a proper format. You can use that, right? Because if, let's say, somebody has provided text fields and is being used as a social security number, you want to make sure it's a number. Text can have mix of it, right? Text can have a number as well as a text in it, right? So if you want to use a text field for storing social security number, you can put validation in place that, okay, maximum of 10 characters, only digits should be allowed, text should not be allowed. So you can do all of that with the help of validation rules. That way you make sure the data that is entered by the user is in proper format, is a proper data, is not corrupted data or incomplete data. Now, first validation rule we will create is on the account object, okay? So every customer needs to have an SLA, which is called as the service level agreement. What kind of SLA that customer has always needs to be defined on that particular customer. So we are going to use this validation rule here, is pickval. So on the account object, we have a field called type, and it has a pick list value of customer. So if that particular account type is customer, and if the SLA tier you have not chosen, if the value for that is blank, this is the error condition. What you're writing here is an error condition, that, okay, when this happens, that means an error needs to be thrown. And where are you throwing the error? Right on top of this field called SLA tier. And what is the error message? Select an SLA tier for customers. Okay, now let me show you what I'm talking about. So if you go to an account object, right, we go to Burlington Textile of America. And here you go to details. You have a field called SLA tier, right? And type of the customer is customer direct. There is a pick list option called as, actually, you don't have that option. So let's enable that option first of all. We go to the edit object and we will go to the fields and relationship and we will go to type, okay? And under the type, you see there is no type as customer. You can create a new type here and you can call it as customer, or you can use one of these type, customer channel, customer direct. Now, do you want me to create a new type, or are we okay using this one? Let me know, guys.
Either way, it's fine, right?
Okay.
Unless we're using this for something else later on, like.
Yeah, let's just stick with what we have, rather, because then it gets customer direct, people will get confused. So we'll just leave it customer direct. So I'll come over to the account and we will go to validation rules. You scroll down and here is the validation rule. And we will create a new validation rule here. And what is the name of the validation rule? Customers requires SLA. So here we're going to say customer requires SLA. Means, sir, every customer needs to have a service level agreement. And here we're going to change it to say customer needs a defined support level. Okay, that's the description. Here, what you want to do. When does this error needs to be thrown? This error needs to be thrown if the customer type is customer direct, okay, and the SLA tier is blank. That is when you want to throw this error message. So type is what? It's a pick list value, right? So we are going to use this method available. It's called isPickVal. Okay, so there's a method called isPickVal. So you go here, isPickVal. Now, what does this method does? isPickVal, it takes in two parameters, two things it takes in. One is the pick list field, means which pick list field you're talking about, and what is the text you want to verify against. So what we're doing is it checks whether the value of the pick list field equals to the string literal. So I'm going to go ahead and select this function. What field I'm testing against? I'm checking what is the type. So on the account object, there is a field called type. So we'll go ahead and look for the word type. Okay, it's a pick list field and you've already seen the option for that field. So the type is the pick list field. And what is the value? Customer direct, right? So customer direct was you have to write it here, customer dash direct. Okay, type is equals to customer direct. And then here, always remember that you have to pick up the API name. Okay, what do I mean by that is here, if I go to fields and relationship, and if I go to type, oh, sorry, I have to go to the account object. So account object, fields and relationship, type, and here is the values that are available. So you have to choose the API name. So every thing has two names. One is the label, one is the API name. API name is the one that is used when you're writing code, when you are using in the flows. So these are the values you should go, the right side, not the left side. And they can be different sometimes. Ideally, they shouldn't be different. But if they are different, you will go with the API name. So here I'm going to select customer direct and copy that same thing with the right spaces and everything under here. So I'm checking, is the value of the type field the user has selected, is it customer direct? And if it is, and, so there is a logical operator and, means both the condition needs to be true. And the SLA tier pick list value is blank. Okay, so next one is the SLA tier is a field on the account object. So if you remember here, SLA is a field, so keep going. You're selecting SLA tier. Go back. SLA tier. Okay, it's a pick list field again. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this SLA tier. And what are the different values for this field? It could have any value. And if I go to fields and relationship, what are the pick list values that SLA tier has? It is platinum, gold, etc. So platinum, gold, silver. So if a user has not selected, I'm going to get rid of these extra stuff. If the user has not selected anything, it's a blank, but it is a type of the customer is customer direct. In this case, I'm going to throw an error. Okay, so check syntax. We are checking everything is fine, good, no errors found. Now, what is the error message you want to throw? In this case, we want to throw select an SLA tier for customers. So the message would be select an SLA tier for the customer. Now, where do you want to show this message? You want to show this message on the top of the page or you want to show it on the particular field. So you have both the options. If you want to show on the top or you want to show it next to the field. Here we are going to choose SLA tier as the field where we would like to show the error message. Why? Right here. Okay. On the field, we are going to show, and then we are going to hit save. So far, if the customer was a type customer direct and they were not providing the value for the SLA tier, there was no problem. User was able to save the record and was able to proceed fine. Okay. So if I go here, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. Now, if we go to the account object, if you go to Burlington Textile of America, right now it's a customer direct and SLA tier is blank, you're able to save the record. Moment you went ahead and try to create a new record, okay? And here I'm going to say Dick's Sporting Goods. Rating is hot, parent account, we don't have it. Type is customer direct. So one of the condition meets, which is this. And now you are providing nothing for SLA tier. You try to hit the save, you're getting an error message saying SLA tier, the same error message that you gave in the validation rule, select an SLA tier for the customer. Moment you choose something, the error will go away and you'll be able to save the record. Okay. Now, right now you're thinking that we have two records, one where the validation rule has kicked in, but the other hasn't. Because if you try to save this record now, you're going to get an error message. Okay. If you try to save this record, even though right now you're able to have the type as customer direct and SLA tier blank, but the moment you try to hit edit and you try to hit save, this error will come up. Because when you save that record, this validation rule wasn't there. Now, since you have created the validation rule, now when you try to save this record, it's going to give you an error message. It could be fixed either way. You go from customer direct to prospect, SLA is not required. You'll be able to save it. So, and means both the condition needs to meet. Okay. Any questions on this validation rule, guys? Vijay is good. Robert, Patrick, Betty, Yusuf, everybody is good? Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
One second. So what happened to the existing record if we want to update?
Okay. So what you can do is, do you want the validation to kick in?
Yes.
You have to either manually run a script to go ahead and edit something on that field. That way the validation will kick in.
Okay.
Or you provide, or you set those values behind the scene through a data loader or through the code. You have to set up those values because anytime any user tries to hit the edit, that validation will kick in. They will have to basically, what they have to do is they will have to make sure they abide by that validation rule. Means they will have to fix the data in order to save the record. Until you go to the record and try to edit it, those validation rules will sit there behind quietly. Moment you go to the record and hit edit and try to save it, that validation will kick in. So you populate the data. One option is this, or you basically inactivate the validation rule for the timing if you're doing any processes. Activation of the validation rule is very, very important. Only the validation rule will kick in if the rule is active. Okay. So if you go to the account object, and if you click on here, edit object, and if you go to the validation rules, you will see that it has to be active. If it is not active, it is as simple as having this validation rule is deleted. Okay, active is very important. Did I answer your question, Vijay?
Yes.
Okay.
What was the question?
Question was, what happens to those existing records if the validation rule is active now? So what will happen is, as long as those existing records are sitting, it's fine. But the moment any user tries to edit the record, that validation rule will throw. So the option is either you populate the data with the prop to meet the validation criteria, or you have to manually go ahead and set up that data after editing the record.
So it's not the what happened. My question is like how to update it to unify every record with the same
Then you will
validation.
use data loader or a batch job or something to populate the data in to meet the validation criteria.
Can we use a flow? I think that's an interesting challenge. Probably we can try.
Flow,
Yeah, flow, we can use the validation rule to kick in before saving or anything, right?
no, the validation rule will kick in before saving anyways. You don't have to write a flow for that. Validation rule automatically kicks in when you try to save the record.
So no, I think what I'm saying is, I think this is an interesting challenge, right? So maybe we should go ahead and before creating this actual validation rules, maybe I'll go ahead and create some records without the SLA tier, and then create the validation rule, make it active,
Now, the
and
thing
then,
is, we don't know which customer is in which SLA tier. So how you can select it? So you should have a particular field like a customer direct. You should be in which tier, platinum, gold, or silver. We don't know.
no, I think that's why a flow is needed to see, identify like,
So we should need an extra field to match up for this kind of field. Okay, for this tire, we need this SLA tire.
no, I think so that there should be a data mapping to begin with, like a requirement.
Yes, yes.
And then there is like a flow that needs to go see if these customers that require a tier, if it's empty, then go ahead and update it. I think, is that like,
No.
that sounds more like an Apex code, isn't it?
Yeah. No, no, no. Your requirements are a little off. So here, how are which customer? You have to provide the name for the customer, right?
No, so here's the situation. So you say you have 10 customers.
Okay, 10
Okay?
customers. Okay, and let's say Dick's Sporting Good, Walmart, etc. You have 10
Whatever.
customers.
Yeah, like, so 10 customers. And initially your company did not set
Provide the SLA.
provide the SLA. Later on, it said, okay, we will introduce the SLAs.
Yeah.
You could have like a mixed bag of, data.
Platinum, gold,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah. And some of them could not even have that value populated.
Okay.
Um, and now, but say, or even like in a regular case, so now, earlier they didn't had this SLA tier. Now the customer wants the service and they want to enroll in a new tier, right? Earlier they didn't have service, so they want to register for the service. Um, so
You
for
won't use flow in this case. You will use data loader or you will use a data import wizard to populate the data for those 10 customers.
uh,
I
Not flow.
think it's all start from the SLA, how they are providing based on the value of the account.
That is
So
true.
much.
Then you will use flow. If you have
Then we can
such,
use the flow. Yeah.
yes. But if you are exactly, then you will use a flow because if the user says that, okay, if the account worth 50 grand, you give them a platinum service. If the account is worth 30 grand, give them that is something you can do through the flow. You know what I'm saying? What you are saying, Amar, you won't use flow for that. You're saying that, okay, for 10 customer, one customer has a platinum value. There is no pattern. If there is no pattern, you can't use a flow. If there is a pattern, like, okay, based on the account total value, you give a special tier to that customer. Then in that case, you can use a flow or Apex code, but the better would be a flow.
Can we use a formula for that?
Formula, can you? If else condition is there, yes, you can do that as well. Based on if this is greater, then you use 30. But if it gets too big,
Mm-hmm.
then it might be a
We
problem.
cannot use the formula over there. We have to use the in the flow formula you are saying?
No, no, no.
No,
She's
it's
saying,
No, in the we have to
formula.
go with the flow only because if we are finding that the SLA is the account value is this, then you have to update this field SLA tire to this. and save the record.
Okay, why don't you guys do it as a homework? Whoever knows how to use formula, and we're going to come to formulas in a minute. Why don't you use that? Okay, can we do it through the flow? Can we do it through the formula? That's more of an assignment for you. Try formula. I personally would have done a flow, but I'm not sure if formula can do that also. Let me see. Why don't we do that right away? My favorite too. But if you're getting like multiple scenarios, like 30 grand, it is this, 40 is this, or if in between is this, then flow would be much cleaner.
Deepika, formula is read-only field, so it's always assignment is through flow in this scenario.
Yeah. See here, you can do it through the flow. Total amount greater than platinum. If total amount is greater than 50 gold, you can do something like this.
But I think it needs to be embedded in something. You cannot
You
directly.
will be doing on an SLA tier then. Right now we have SLA tier as a pick list. Instead of that, you will change it to a formula field.
Right.
You will say, okay, if the total amount is greater than this, then make it platinum. If it is this, then make it this way. Now, which is a better option to use? Float or formula to set up SLA tier? We're jumping ahead of us, guys. So, but let's just spend 2 more minutes to figure out the answer. Yeah, this is good. Use a flow when the tier is simple, always up-to-date display based on the account fields you already have on the account. Use a flow when you need to persist the tier as a real field value, trigger automation, or aggregate from related. Yeah, if it is little complex, you're going to use a flow, but if it's from the same object, you're going to use a formula. Because you can't do it the formula from the related list. Okay, can I proceed to the next topic, to the next validation rule?
Yes.
Okay, everybody. Okay, great. Awesome. Deepthi, crystal clear. Tripti. I'm not asking Girija because some of you already know Salesforce a bit, so that's why. Kushbu. All good? Okay. Next is the creating validation rule again on an account. So it says, is PICVAL customer status is active and onboarding date is blank. So if you have, this is again on the account object, if a value for the customer status field is active, but user has not provided the onboarding date, in that case, you want to throw an error message. And let's say instead of throwing it on the field, we want to throw the error message on the top of the page, you can do that as well. So active customer must have an onboarding date. So we'll go over to the account object again. We will go to the validation rule, click on new. Before we do that, let's check the field customer status. Does that customer status have a pick list value of active? So here we go to customer status. We do have a pick list value of active, so we'll choose that. We'll go to validation rule, click on new. Active customer must have onboarding date. Active customer must have onboarding date. Okay. here, what it is asking, two things needs to be true because there's an and in between. One is customer status. So we will go ahead and choose is PickWal from the option. So we'll go ahead and choose the same method we chose earlier. Is PickWal. So we'll select this. Which field are we checking for? We're checking for the customer status. So there is a field on the account object called customer status. We will choose that field. And what value are we checking against? We are saying if the value of that field is active. And the second condition is and. So you have to use the and operator. And onboarding date is blank. The other method we are using from here is blank. So here you have to go ahead and take a look at some of these important methods and is blank. It basically checks whether an expression is blank and returns true or false. So it checks, okay, if the field value is blank or not. If it is blank, it will return you true. If it is not blank, it will return you false. So we are going to check is blank. Which field or expression we are checking? We are checking for the onboarding date. So we are checking the field is called onboarding. So we'll go to the onboarding date, select insert, and then I'm going to go ahead and select this field inside of this expression. So we are checking for two things. First, we are checking what is the customer status. If the customer status is active and if the onboarding date is blank, if both these condition meets, that is the condition of the error. Okay, this basically defines your error statement. Okay, next we will check for syntax, and if there are no errors found, if there is an issue, you have to fix that issue in order to proceed. And the error message is active customer must have onboarding date. So we are going to go ahead and provide this as the error message. And we will put this, you can either put it on the field or we will put it on top of page. So we'll hit it save here. Now, if you go to the customer and if you don't provide onboarding date. So let's see, where is the onboarding date? There is onboarding date and then customer status. This is your customer status. You have chosen the customer status as active. So one condition meets. You have not provided the onboarding date. The moment you do that, you're going to get an error message, and this is your error message. And it also, active customer must have an onboarding date. The moment you provide the onboarding date, the error will go away. So we'll go ahead and select 23, hit save. So that is validation criteria meets, that error doesn't exist anymore. Okay, so this is the second validation rule that we have created. Now, this is similar. You will go ahead and create this. We are using the same function is PickWal. It is again contact object. This is again, so this one, text basically tells you what is the pick list value for that particular field. Is PickWal and text is kind of similar. Is PickWal will check what is the pick list value, and text basically tells you what is the text value for that particular field. Okay, do you want me to do this validation rule, or you'll be able to do it yourself?
I think we should be able to do it. It's fairly
Okay.
simple.
Everybody else agrees to that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and proceed to the next one. Deepti, Tripti, Deepti is saying good, so that is very good. Okay, this is again a very simple validation rule. This is again a very simple validation rule, so I'm not going ahead with these validation rules. Now, this one, it is on the opportunity object, and it is saying close date cannot be in the past. You want to make sure that close date on a particular, on this opportunity object, we have a field called close date. It should always be, it shouldn't be less than today's date. It should always be after today's date. And if this is the criteria for the error. Always remember, when you're defining a validation rule, you're giving the condition for the error. You're not giving the condition for a successful save. You're telling when the error should be thrown. So here I'm saying, when the close date is before the today's date, that's when the error should be thrown. And this is the error message. Again, a very simple validation rule. So I'm not going ahead. This is a simple one too. Again, a simple one. Again, a simple one. So we are going to proceed. Okay, these are all the validation. You will be creating it. I can do this one, creating validation rule on shoe inventory object. Okay. So on the shoe inventory object, we were going to create MSRP must be greater than the cost. The selling price should always be greater than the cost of that shoe. Because if this doesn't meet, then means you're in losses and you don't want to run a business when you're in loss, right? So MSRP should always be greater than the cost. So first, what it is checking if the MSRP is not blank, okay? And if the cost is also not blank. If both of them are not blank, always make sure the MSRP is always less than the cost. If it is the case, that is the error that you have to throw in, that MSRP cannot be lower than the cost. Okay, right now, if I go over to a shoe inventory, was it a shoe inventory? Yes, on the shoe inventory, and if I try to create, I'm gonna go to give SKU number, style is a runner shoe, color is black, MSRP and cost. So let's say $100 is the cost and you're selling it for 80 bucks. Right now, it will not throw. What is it? Oh, did I set up a, damn it. Value outside of valid range of numeric field 100. Okay, let's go back and fix this issue. I think I made a mistake here. Cost. And currency is 2. That is why. Let's change it. Currency could be maximum. Issue can be maximum, can be anything. So we're going to go 16 and 2. So we are saying that it can be up till as expensive as you want, and then 2 decimal places. Simple. And similarly, let me check for MSRP as well. MSRP is again 18,0. You can leave it as it is, or you can change it to 16,2 again, just to be on the same. Hit save. If you have not done it, you're fine. You can change it later, not a problem. So on the shoe inventory object, we go to the validation rule, and the validation rule that we are going to create is that MSRP should always be greater than the cost of the good. Right now, if you go to the a particular shoe inventory and you click on new and you provide the SKU number and you provide the style, color, size, and cost is 100 bucks and you're selling it for 80 bucks, it will allow you to save this record because we don't have a validation rule. But this is a wrong data, right? Your selling price should always be greater than the cost of the good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the validation rule in picture. So we'll go back to the validation rule here. We are creating it on the shoe inventory object. And what is the validation rule? MSRP must be always greater than the cost. MSRP must be greater than cost. Okay. And here, this is the one. First, we are checking that both the values ands, okay? All three needs to be true. MSRP shouldn't be blank. Cost shouldn't be blank. If one of them is blank, it's fine. You can still save the record. Right now, you don't know the MSRP or you don't know the cost of the good. It's fine. But the moment you know both the values, MSRP should, if MSRP is less than the cost, then the error should be thrown. So I'm using a function called AND. Now, what does the AND does? It checks whether all the arguments are true and returns true if all arguments are true. So basically, AND checks for conditions. AND means condition 1, comma, condition number 2. Condition 1 has to be true and condition 2 has to be true in order for this AND to result into true. Okay, simple logical operation. Or in the case of or, what happens is condition 1 or condition 2, either of it has to be true in order for or to be true. The moment this expression that you write inside becomes true, validation rule will be thrown. Okay, the output of this expression is either true or false. If it results into true, you will get a validation error message. If it results in false, you will get a you won't get a validation error message. So here, what is the condition? We are using AND expression. We are checking. There is a method called is blank. We just used it. Is blank. So we are saying is blank. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I'm checking for, I'm on top of it, I'm putting not. Not means, is this expression not blank? Okay, similarly, I'm going to get rid of this. Same, not is blank. Okay, so two condition, not is blank, cost, and then the MSRP. The third condition is MSRP, which is a field, MSRP, if it is less than, or you can also do equals to both, then you're not making any profit. Okay, so
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It should not be equal to
yeah,
also.
the less than equals to cost. So the next field is cost. If it is less than equals to cost, Control X, it has to be within these brackets. And which field we are checking? We are checking for, first is cost. Let's say we can do anything. Doesn't have to be in this order. Cost. And then the second one is the MSRP. Okay, so MSRP and cost, MSRP is less than. If this is the case, you have to check for errors. Okay, so you have found equals to. So you don't have, okay, we don't have greater than equals to together. It has to be less than. The moment I do it, do I have? Yeah, let's see if this works. Yeah, so I think if there was a space in between, that's why I didn't allow it. Less than equals to, no errors found. MSRP, what error message you want to throw? Cannot be lower than the cost. Cannot be lower than the cost. Okay. And where do you want to throw this error message? On the MSRP. So we're going to go ahead and choose the field. MSRP is the field. Hit save. If I go back to the same record now, if I go back to the same record, if I try to edit this record and try to save it, I should be getting this error message now. MSRP cannot be lower than the cost. Initially, I didn't get this error message because I did not, what do you say? There was no validation rule. Moment you inactivate the validation rule, it will pass. It won't, the validation rule won't kicking. So inactivating it or not having the validation rule is the same thing. Sometimes what happens in the real world, you assume the validation should be kicking in. It's not kicking in because 99% of the time the validation rule has become deactivated by somebody. They did it for the timing and they forgot to activate it again, and that's when the error happens. Okay. Any questions on this, guys? Are we good to proceed?
And the message should also say MSRP should not be equal or lower,
Very
equal to
good.
the cost or lower.
That's a good point. So you go back to that here. MSRP cannot be lower or equal to the cost. Yeah, good. So this is the case. Everybody good? Okay. Guys, need those thumbs ups coming in my way. If you have questions, let me know. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Similarly, shoe inventory, we are going to create size has to be, if the size is less than 0, means if somebody is giving -7 or -8, you can either have a pick list value defined saying 6, 7, 8, 8.59, or you can make sure that it's not less than 0. Okay, so you can do that. That is a simple one. I will leave it up to you. International, if the shipping method is international, then the shipping country cannot be blank. Okay, so you have to select this. This is another validation rule you will be adding as an assignment on your application. Okay, email or phone is required. So if the user has selected, this is on supplier, if the user has selected both of them are blank, email or phone is required. So here, this has to be an or instead of an and. Right now I'm using an and. One of these values needs to be provided. Provide at least email or phone for the supplier. So instead of using an and operator, you will be using an or operator. Or operator is nothing but this is your or operator. Either you can explicitly say the word or you can use the pipe symbol. Okay? Any questions, guys?
But in this, you're saying that if both are blank, it is not okay, right? So it's fine. I mean, I think.
No,
It's
this is little wrong because on the top I'm saying email or phone is required, and the formula is saying and both are required. Are you getting my point, Deepthi? This
Oh, okay.
and operator. If
No, I mean, what I was thinking, okay, you can write it a little bit differently also.
yeah, you can, if you're saying one of them is required, then your formula should also say one of them. In this case, and what will happen is email is provided and phone is not provided, the validation error will be thrown. Otherwise, if phone is provided and email is not provided, again, the validation message will be thrown because you're using an and operator.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Formula fields. Do you guys want to cover formula fields today or tomorrow? Because there are a lot of formula fields. So I think we won't be able to finish this topic today. We only have 10 minutes left. Guys, tell me, what do you want to do?
That and is right.
Huh?
And operation, that is right. That's for the validation, right? One of them is if both of them are blank, then only formula will kick in. One of them is blank, it won't kick in. It evaluates to true for this condition. That is right.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me think.
That's what I was thinking, right? That both of them, even in meaning like your email is
Oh,
blank and your phone is blank.
yes.
Yeah.
If one of email, yeah. Yeah, if email is very good point. I'm so sorry about that. If email is blank, girls are paying more attention than the guys. What's going on? Huh? Roberto, Patrick, what's going on? I was giving you an error and you didn't speak up. So is blank. So if the email is blank, okay.
Validation won't kick in.
Yes, validation won't kick in because exactly. Because if the email is blank, then then becomes true. If the email true, and if the phone is not blank, this will become false. The validation won't kick in. So this validation won't be thrown. Exactly. So in this case, you want an and operator, not an or operator. You want one of them to be available. And in this case, if both of them are not provided, like this is also true, and this is also true, then validation will kick in. Okay, yes, you're absolutely right. This is correct.
So, yeah, that's what I thought initially when I saw it.
Good. My mistake. I was just testing how attentive you guys are. So, guys failed at that. Girls did good. So, formula fields, guys, we'll pick it up tomorrow. We do have a bunch of formula fields. We will take a look at it tomorrow, and we will also look at data import and data loader tomorrow. And let's see what else can we cover in 2 hours. Now, guys, this is the time to ask your questions. We have 9 minutes left. Bring it on. Everything is crystal clear on things we covered today?
Yes.
Okay. So your guys are going to get 8 minutes back. Will you be able to do the homework today or the validation rules, or it'll be after tomorrow?
I have some things to finish, so maybe after tomorrow.
Okay. What about Betty? What do you think? Will you be able to come to the to do the validations that I've mentioned today in the class, or will it be during the week?
I'm gonna be working on some of it today and then some during the week. I just noticed when we were doing in the dashboards and the tabs that like some of the stuff from like shoe order and everything wasn't showing up for me. So I was like, I missed something in the lookups, the connections. So I was like, I need to go back over to the video and see where and the PowerPoint, see where I missed something.
Okay, okay. And if you go and figure it out, let me know, okay?
All right, will do. Thank you.
Okay, guys, so 7 minutes given back to you. Let me see if somebody has any questions. Okay, okay, everybody's saying tomorrow, no questions. Okay, good then. Whoever can do it, the PowerPoint is there with you guys. Whoever cannot do it, you have the whole week to do it. After you're done with these validation rules, I want to give you some complicated ones. So let me know, that way you get to use other formulas as well. But the mainly ones that we use is pick, val, blank, if else, cases, and we'll take a look at it tomorrow as well, formula field. So I'll give you more validations during the week as well, besides these easier ones. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Deepika.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.